All right.
people.
Welcome everyone to the Radical Survivor Wicked Jury Roundtable. We have gone through Final Immunity, we have gone through Fire Making, and now we have a Final Three. And one of Jen, Brandon, or CJ are going to be our next lead role in this game, much to some people's chagrin. However, that is the final three that we have. Now, before we do get started, I do want to go over just a couple ground rules here. One, just remember that eventually the final three is going to see this. This will be in the game index at the end of the season. So whatever you do say about the final three, just try to keep it game. We know you have strong thoughts and things like that about their games and things like that, but just make sure that whatever you say, it is game related, just to make sure that when they do watch this back, it doesn't traumatize them for the rest of their lives. We know that the second thing I will also say is just make sure that, I know you guys are a very vocal bunch, as you have shown within the Jerry chat, but just make sure that when you do talk, please try not to talk over each other. We know you all have very strong thoughts, but just want to make sure to keep things as fair and organized as possible, just to make sure that you are letting others speak. I will cut you off if you do start talking over each other. And also, let's try to stay on topic. We don't want this to go on for 3 hours long. We know that roundtables can somewhat go long, but we don't want this to go on forever. I already talk enough as it is, so we already know that will add length to the roundtable. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and get
One thing, I was waiting. Second thing, it's not a nod at you guys specifically. We were just saying it because the Sweeney group, when we did the Sweeney Todd, they were all screaming over each other, and you could not hear anything. So it's just so specifically you guys can hear it because we had people literally screaming over each other. So it's not against and not against anyone. I just want to take note of that because
You
it
can
was god
honestly be like it's
awful.
against us because really, like, if
no,
anyone's going to scream
it's
over each
not.
other,
maybe it is against you. I don't know. We'll see how
No,
no,
this
it
it's a
definitely
goes.
hundred
is.
percent
If
not.
anyone's going to scream over each other, it's definitely going to be the four of us screaming at each other.
Well,
So,
we
It's a hundred
shall
percent
we shall
not.
see how this goes. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So the first question I have for you is, we're just going to go ahead and talk about the social aspect of the game. I think in Survivor, the social aspect is one of the most important parts of these games. So we're just going to go ahead, go through the final three. Let's start off with CJ. Let's talk a little bit about CJ's social game. Whoever would like to start.
so I'll start with CJ because I feel like I'll probably be CJ's biggest defender.
Okay.
CJ was 100% loyal to me from the beginning of this game until I was voted out of this game. Everything that I had asked CJ to do, even if like it was against what Slater or other people in our alliance had said, CJ would do it. So like I feel like we had a very loyal bond, and CJ and I came into this not as friends. Really, like we had a lot of beef and we worked through it throughout the season. Like that was not a bullshit lie I told in the beginning. I really could not stand CJ at the beginning of this season, and was working with him just because that's the way the cards laid out for me in the beginning. But I think CJ's ability to be Sandra Diaz and anybody but me and save himself from several votes where it could have been him. He got it flipped off of him several times. One, during the CJ Jesse vote, when it was me, Topher, Adrian, Shanice, CJ, and Jesse, it very easily could have been CJ, but we got it flipped on Jesse by CJ being willing to turn on Jesse. Otherwise, it very well would have been CJ going home that round. Another one is CJ versus Dan. CJ easily could have gone home that round as well had I not thrown my vote. Um, well, no, that doesn't make sense. But either way, CJ's name was up there on that round, and he did what he had to do to save himself. Like he jumped ship on the voting out Brendan and went to voting out Dan to ensure that he was safe. There's other times that CJ's been up there. He was willing to be the pawn in the Dennis vote of if Dennis plays his idol, I'm going home. Little did he know that it was going to switch to Jesse being the one going home, but he was willing to be that person. So I think CJ did a lot of chameleon type things where he changed what he needed to be to different people.
All right, Topher, I saw you raise your hand, so you want to chime in about CJ?
Yeah, but that's all great strategically. Like, I want to hear you say that you and CJ came into the game with a big beef, and we're talking about his social game right now. Like, how did he socially turn it around from you going from being enemies to a working relationship?
Perfect. I can, that's a great question. I honestly think it was just him keeping his word. Everything that I was saying, no matter how crazy or out there, or maybe even not beneficial to him specifically, that I was suggesting, he was still willing to do it. He was also filling me in on what other people were saying, and he was just really building up the trust through our conversations. Like we were talking pretty much every night on the phone when we were able to, because there's a huge chunk when we were not together. We didn't really get back together until the merge, or mergatory maybe. Um, and he just kept building up that trust. So there was a long break between that. As soon as we got back together, it was a phone call and like, hey, I still want to be with you. Here's all of the information I've learned since we've been separated. And I feel like filling me in on that just really helped me be able to trust him and be like, okay, he's let go of our beef. Like, I'm going to let go of it as well. And let's play together. And it was around that point that I decided that CJ would probably be my number one and sticking with CJ, regardless.
All right.
I'll chime in real quick.
Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I just because I want to talk a little bit about kind of the opposite side of CJ, right? Like I was not working with him and he was not working with me. But I think it was interesting how he had Dennis locked in. I mean, Dennis was not wavering whatsoever on CJ. I like tried very hard to be like, I'm getting weird vibes from CJ. I don't see the trust in CJ. And Dennis was die hard trusting CJ. CJ turns around and votes Dennis out the first chance he gets. So, and I think Adrian just popped in. Adrian can kind of verify this.
Here, yes.
Dennis was like die hard CJ, like was not going to turn on CJ, loved him to death, wanted him part of some bigger plan.
Yeah.
And then CJ turns on him. And so, like, that was interesting to me, like how he was able to do that. But then later on, after all you guys were already gone, he was able to get Shanice and Brandon to like lock in with him, use that as a like himself as a swing vote, as somebody that can kind of change the tide of the game. And I was the plan. So I was supposed to be out at 6, but I won immunity. So that's why Jen copped votes there. But I had an extra vote. That was the whole thing, right? But CJ was able to do all that and then turn it around to make sure that I was the one going home at 5. So to me, CJ played a really good social game. I just wasn't part of it, which was frustrating. But
I don't think he played
a
that
decent
well.
social. I think he played the social part as well as he could.
All right, Adrian, you just got here. It seems like you have some strong feelings, so go ahead. AJ, I'll get to you in a second. So
Oh, Kevin, you look so good.
Thank you.
So, what was I saying about CJ? Well,
we're talking about his social game.
Thank you.
Yes, we were talking about CJ's social game at the moment.
Whether he knew it or not, like I was also like integral in some of that. When we did get Shanice, I was never writing Mike's name at 6. Just wasn't gonna do it. But when Mike won immunity, it definitely made it easier for everybody to vote for Shanice, and because she was arguably a bigger threat than Mike, in my opinion. So I really want to get her out. And I had been talking to Mike about it, and he told me his plan. And I think honestly that CJ seemed kind of like he was bouncing all over the place. Like when you AJ, who was on my screen, so I said you. So when you and CJ voted for me, Slater just told me that like you were sort of behind that, like in case Slater.
Yeah, I can fill you in. I can fill you in on all of that if you want to. It doesn't really have a factor here. But
yes, so talk about it off stream. Yes.
Yeah, I'll talk about that later.
Sure.
I would love to have a conversation with you about how that all played out, because it didn't play out as simple as AJ just decided Adrian has to get the votes. There was a lot of connections before that happened.
Okay, I was asking because like how CJ factored into that.
CJ factored into that because I said do it, so he did it.
It was a strong walk by CJ.
So yeah, that's not social game. That's just like listening to, you know what I mean? Like he's not really thinking for himself there.
So I have
So
a few things
to
that I
go back to Mike's point about the Dennis thing.
Yeah.
The reason that CJ voted for Dennis is because there was an original alliance of Slater, Jesse, AJ, CJ. We were told that Dan and Topher would vote with us for a power of 6 to take out Dennis. So that's why CJ did it, because there was also a rumor that Dennis was throwing out both Jesse and CJ. And CJ was connected to Jesse, me, and Slater before anybody else in the game. So that's why CJ played the Dennis vote the way that he did, because the rest of his alliance was, and he kept hearing his name. So it was easy for him to play that Dennis thing. I also had heard that Dennis was
That's
with him afterwards.
self-preservation. That's fair.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that my point was clear. My point was that Dennis was still diehard CJ, despite the fact that CJ never was like in with Dennis. So Dennis felt very connected to CJ. That says something towards CJ's social game. That was what I was kind of.
Sorry. I thought you were
back to-
saying the opposite.
All right.
Sorry.
Yes, I
Can
do
I
want
talk
to
on the
give
social-
Slater a chance to speak. He hasn't gotten to chime in yet, so go ahead.
All right, so with CJ, I do think he did connect with Dennis, similar to me, because Dennis is a sports guy like myself. So I think he hit it off with Dennis on the sports aspect. I think that might have been what locked him in with Dennis. And I also kind of knew that. That's why we couldn't have both of us in the game. So CJ, though, I feel like his demeanor is what really set the tone for his social game. He comes off as a, Southern guy. Obviously has the big draw from, Louisiana. Very easy to talk to. I know that he definitely was a loyal person, but he was just someone that definitely, no matter what, he always said good morning to everybody. He made sure that he set up. I think you might have seen it. He was like, in the tribe chat, he was like, "Hey guys, make sure you check your message requests because I made sure to make a chat with each and every one of you." He did that on every tribe that he was on. That was the first thing that he did. He would talk to everyone. He like no matter who. And I knew that he was doing that. And he was up front about after he voted out Jesse over Adrian. He was up front on that. And the big thing on CJ when it came to social, Adrian, you mentioned it. He helped you in some challenges. Like that's a big social thing. That he went to you and helped you in some challenges.
Yeah, like I was definitely against him before that. It didn't really end up helping. I'm not really sure he did what I wanted him to do, but that's okay. Like I still appreciated that he made an effort to try and help me at the beginning.
Yeah. So I think on the social side, I think yes, he was very Sandra Diaz, but I think Sandra Diaz has one of the best social games of Survivor history too. So like anybody but me is not a terrible social game. Yes, he did have to make some promises that he couldn't keep, but that's Survivor. I think CJ was approachable. More approachable than I thought that he would be when I entered the game. So I was definitely happy to play with CJ. Especially the first thing I hear is CJ is from AJ, not trustworthy, blah blah blah, and he proved to be approachable.
CJ had
And someone mentioned it earlier. He listened. He listened. He might not give a lot, but he listened, and that's another big thing about being social game.
All right, Topher, I know you haven't really gotten to say all that much. Is there anything you want to say regarding CJ's social game?
I mean, I think he had a better one than the other two. I think he had the best social game out of everyone who played. Well, no, but I think maybe Adrian and AJ are confusing the social and strategy aspect of the game right now. Like we're talking about like what did he do to make you feel good, or like how did he talk to you? Did he do this? Not like moves or anything like that. But yeah, no, he did message me every single day. I mean, we talked about similar interests that we had. Like even when he knew I was working against him, he still came to me and was like, "Let's talk. What are we gonna do?" Whereas like Jen and Brandon just like completely shut me out of any kind of game talk.
So to clarify the question then, because in case it's seems that I'm confused about it. Mine and CJ's conversations were very personal. He had a lot of personal questions for me. We talked through all of the stuff that we went through. There's a lot of personal things that we did in a social call that's just not really game related for me to bring up here and be like, this is what CJ said to me on a on like a personal level that got me past that, because I was very much scared to play with CJ. The last time I played with him, he was very scummy. He was very lying, and he did some very personal things outside of the game to me that caused issues. And we were able to work through all of those. And a lot of it was him opening it up, because I was really going into this not thinking I was going to end up trusting CJ whatsoever, but because of his willingness to put words and apologies to the things that had happened in the real world and like talk through those, even though they were uncomfortable and happened years ago, that really made me look at his social game different. And also, a lot of our conversations were maybe 20% game and like 80% personal, checking in on seeing like how things were going and things like that. As far as social game goes, I think that like we're definitely rocky beginning. And he definitely won me over throughout the game. Um, and maybe it is hard to differentiate between social and strategy when you're playing so closely with the person and seeing both of them at the same time. But those are some of the things that he was doing on a social level that caused me to be like, okay, I want CJ as my number one.
All right. I think we've gone through everybody. Is there anything else we want to say quickly about CJ's social game?
He did check
Okay,
in a
go ahead.
lot, which I appreciated. Um, but at the same time, I feel like our conversations were mostly superficial and not really game related at all. Superficial, I don't mean like, oh, we're talking about hairstyles or something. I mean like
I would
we
actually really like to know
hey,
that if
it's
that was true.
hello. What?
I was just making a joke about like how hilarious that would be if your conversations were actually about hairstyles. But no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? All right. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next person. Let's go ahead and talk about Jen's social game. How do we feel about Jen's social game? What do we like? What do we not like? Whoever wants to start.
I don't have
I
much
guess
to say,
since
so I guess I'll start.
yeah, uh,
Yeah,
you
Mike.
want to start?
Yeah, I don't have much to say. I got good mornings. It's very pleasantry. I got a pleasant vibe from Jen. Um, I understand that she has a 4.5-month-old child, and is props to her for that. Um, but that's about where it ended with for me.
Mike, I think you wanted to go next.
Yeah. I think it's hard because I think people assumed that her and I were talking the most, but I was probably getting the same amount from her as anybody else was getting. She was very busy with her kid, and when she wasn't, handling that situation, she was catching up on sleep and all sorts of other things. So I do think that her choice to play the game in that situation, I think, cost her a lot of her social aspect. I do think that she could have played it a little bit better, but I also think she was locked in with the right people where I think she could kind of skate through a lot of part of that game where, Brandon was a very social player. Shanice was a very social player. I was a very social player. And so she was able to kind of be an entity of that where she didn't need to be as social as the rest of us, knowing that she could potentially ride that wave. So that's my assumption of like how she was playing the social game, but she was reaching out. She was, when she could, saying good morning, saying how are you, what's going on. So I was getting some of that. I can't speak for everybody else.
I think Jen did actually do a she did actually do a good job of being social, because in the first tribal that I attended, I don't even think I was at risk of going home because we voted for people on the other tribe, I think. So I wrote her name down in the very first tribal that I attended where I could vote. And then like 2 days later, she messaged me just out of nowhere, like, oh my gosh, like she was so nice. And like I was like, oh my gosh, is she being fake? And then it turned out like no, like she's legitimately like a delightful person. And to the extent where I agree with Michael, she definitely aligned herself with the right people, so she didn't have to be as social as other people. But at the same time, like since that first time where I voted her because I didn't know her, we hadn't written each other's name down, and sometimes we wouldn't really talk game, but we would just say, I'm not voting you, and it would be the truth. And yeah, so I think she was also like pretty honest with me. So I think that adds an element of social as well.
All right, AJ, Topher, you guys want to weigh in on Jen's social game?
Non-existent with me, post merge or anything. So I
I
can't
will
really
say
say
that
anything.
Jen kind of talked to me a little bit when we were on the 4-person tribe, but from merge on, I kept saying we need to get rid of Jen or she's going to be sitting in the final 3. Jen will sit in the final 3. We need to get rid of Jen. Let's get rid of Jen. She's going to sit in the final 3. So I don't blame Jen for not having a social game with me because I was actively saying, let's get rid of Jen before she sits in the final 3. And so I don't blame her for being against me or like, because when she fought back at like that tribal where I left, like I was like, girl, like you're the only one, like that literally like not the only one, because Adrian, I screwed you too. But I was like, I'm not yelling at you or Adrian. Like you can both yell at like Jen, I'm not saying you're a liar. Like you and I are good fighting with each other because I've been saying your name for like 6 tribal councils now. And now she's at the finale. So no social game with me, but also probably my own fault because I kept saying, let's get out the person that's probably going to be sitting in the final 3. So I don't blame her for it. We just didn't really have a relationship.
All right. Is there anything else you want to say regarding Jen's social game? All right, and now we move on.
I'll just confirm what AJ said.
Go ahead,
Like she came to me and was like, AJ's trying to talk to me again, and I want nothing to do with it. I'm like, okay, well, we tried. We tried to work together.
Yeah, there was like, by trying to work with her was just like, what would you do? And her not giving
Yeah.
me anything. And I was like, okay, well, like, I'm not dumb enough to be like, Jen and I are secretly gonna be together. Like, none of that I thought was real. Even when we had a phone call and she's like, let's put everything aside and work together. Even I like got off that call being like, yeah, that's not real. She's gonna target me the next round. And then I went home the next round. So I was like, this is like none of it's real. Like it's all just like, and I stand by what I said. I think that we let her get to the final 3. I think she might win. And I think that the 2 players sitting beside her are probably going to regret taking her. But
Especially Brandon.
hopefully, let's
with,
get to him.
With that said, yes, that I think that's a good segue. Let's get into Brandon's social game. What do we like? What do we dislike? All that stuff. AJ, you have your hand up, so I assume you want to start. So go ahead.
So here is what disgusts me beyond belief about Brendan's social game is that like he constantly played such an emotional manipulation game with me of like any insecurity I told him about during real personal chats, he used against me and was like, we're together, lies to my face. Like, it was just like constant, unnecessary lies where, like, I would have probably aligned with him regardless of that because whatever, but like, he just made it so personal that I feel like if I vote for him to win, it's giving everybody that watches this game and watches me play permission to treat me like that and still get my vote at the end. So I think that his social game was very fake. I don't believe anything that he has said to me looking back at it. And I'm curious as to whether I was the only one or if this was just how he was playing his game with people. So that's how I feel about him. I feel like he was social in the aspect that he was talking to people and making them feel comfortable with him. However, the way he went about it is not a jury winning way. So that's how I feel about it.
Mike, I see you're shaking your head if you wanted to contribute something.
I think so. I'm very torn because Brandon is a person I love. I think Brandon is a really fun, engaging human being. I think that the way he uses his social dynamic is a bit icky to me, and maybe I mean I think there's some people that maybe feel the same way about me, and I understand that. We're not talking about me, but I think that with Brandon it's like you talk to him and you really feel like that connection with him, and then you just kind of like look to the side and you realize he's like talking about you behind your back. And so for me it was kind of more like, yes, there's a social game and there's a manipulation aspect to this game, right? So like we don't want to be bitter jurors, but at the end of the day, you also want to use your social aptitude to like gain favor with people. And I don't think he did that with this jury. I think he used his social dynamic to kind of lure people in and then like chop their heads off. And so for me, I didn't like his game as much as maybe other people would think that I would, but like he is just not using it to the best of his ability. I think he could be a better game player if he realized that his social dynamic is one of his strongest aspects of his game and not use it in such like a devious way.
Agreed.
I think that was well put.
Thank
That
you. I
that's
appreciate
like
that.
that's literally exactly like that's a better way of how I was feeling about it. So I appreciate you saying that because
I
that's
struggle
literally what
with
I was feeling.
I struggle with how he like ended like when he voted me out, right? He said like, "Well, I don't feel like I have a chance. I have to give myself the best chance to win this game." All those phrases, right? And I'm sitting there thinking like, "Well, if you already know you tanked your game, why are you tanking the people that played better than you?" So like,
Even
it's only to be devious. It's only to put yourself in a position where you think you're the better game player of the three. Now, his strategy game, we're going to talk about later, I think is actually pretty good. But at the end of the day, his social game was really dark.
I agree. When I went home, he was looking me in the eye that entire day, including up till 2 minutes before tribal started, being like, "You and me, buddy, we're final two. There's no way either of us are going home tonight." And
What?
it's just like, yeah, yeah, I promise you. And that's why I was so mad when I left Adrian. That's
Of
why.
course.
Because I was so hurt because he played. That's all. That's all I would say.
All right, Slater, I saw you had your hand up. If you want to go ahead.
Okay, so Brandon's social game is kind of like Chinese food. It makes you full really fast. It's full of MSG, but it really feels you empty inside like a half hour later. That's basically Brandon's social game in a nutshell. In the moment, he does have those funny moments that he tried. Mike put it very precise that when you're talking to him, he has those moments. He has a quirk about him, and it is kind of endearing, but it's indulgent, and also he's a very poor liar, and he knows I know he's a poor liar. Like I cut right through him, and I tell him to his face that he's a poor liar. And he knows that. So, Brandon, I love you, but you know that. But yeah, I do think that there is he played as far as his social game goes. He led the sheep to the slaughter. Um, he even his closest ally, Shanice. Not sure what happened there. I'm not sure
Yeah,
what.
he could have saved her.
I wish she was
I
here.
feel like the loyalty there. I feel like he should have gone to the end with her. I feel like that would have been much better for him.
He voted Jen that round.
I know he voted Jim,
But
but he had an
but
idol
but
in
he
his
had an
pocket.
idol that he could have used for Shanice.
That she
But again,
used to
that's
save him.
that
Wow.
might not be social game, but I feel like
Yeah.
that was his biggest social ally in the game, and I feel like that was a mistake. But
Yeah, because she came in being like, you hadn't seen it, Adrian, because you hadn't been voted out yet. But when she came in, she was like, he was my ride or die. I had him completely. Like, he was my person. I was never going to go against him. So it's just like a shame to see that, like, he also had played and lied to her because he had an idol that could have saved her. And he was just like, nope, I would rather go to the end with potential of two goats.
I
Oh,
also
and
think
And I'm not saying you're a goat, Adrian, because you literally were like
You are not
top
the
of
goat.
our list. You literally were like, as soon as Shanice was gone, it was like, well, Adrian, make it. But like
thank
even
you.
like
I
when Mike, like
tried,
even when
but
Mike was
oh,
gone, it was literally like
guess
the
it was.
final four was all like, Adrian, get there, get there, get there. But
I
sorry,
tried.
that probably doesn't feel any better knowing that you would have won, but
It
nonetheless.
does. It's both. It's bittersweet because it
Mhm,
feels good knowing that I played a good game, but
mhm.
it also feels really bad knowing that I ruined my chances. But well, it's not really my
Well, we
fault.
can continue to eulogize everyone that's not in the game after we get off this call. Topher, if you want to
Okay.
weigh in.
I had one more quick thing about this. So
Yes.
Brandon's the social aspect around the safety chain. He
Mm.
used it to threaten people. AJ. I mean, he told me that he was going to save me, but I knew that he was telling that to a lot of people, and he
He
also told
also
them,
told me he was going to save me.
and
He
he also
also told me
told,
he was going to save me.
and he
That's
also
how
told
it
multiple,
built. Oh, fuck, I'm such an idiot. Fuck's
he
sake.
also told multiple
No,
people.
you're not.
You're
No,
not.
I was in that moment because I
But we
was like,
all
oh my God,
believed
No.
he's
it.
telling
AJ,
just me.
we
Yeah.
all believed it. So like we all ended up fighting each
Yeah.
other over this because none of it was true.
Because we were all like, oh my God, he's going to save us. That was mine, was he told me specifically, I will save you. But if I hear people talking about the safety chain, I will know you said it and I will make sure you go. And I was like, well, why would that benefit? I went to my confessional and I was like, why does it benefit me to tell? Like, if he's going to save me, why would it benefit me to tell people about it? But now I'm just like, oh, it would have benefited me because then I would have realized that everybody already knew about it.
The other
Fuck.
social aspect about it is he also told people originally. Well, he told me originally it expired at 10. Then he told other people it expired at 11. Came back to me and told me it expired at 11. I was like, but you told me 10 before. And of course, as we know, it expired at 9. So I don't know about his usage of that in terms of social game. But anyhow,
We
Topher,
could
you
talk about it in strategy because I don't think he used it appropriately.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in strategic, but Topher, go ahead.
No, yeah, no. I wasn't important enough for his game for him to even lie to me about safety chain, or even talk to me about safety chain, or even talk to me about anything game related other than absolutely nothing. The only game thing he ever talked to me about was, "Oh, I wish we started out together." Which, like, that's just kind of boring. Like, okay, so we didn't start out on the same tribe together, so you're not going to talk to me. So, like, I really don't have, I feel like giving him about as much consideration as he gave me, which would be nothing. So that's all I have to say.
yeah,
All right.
and on that topic, he did tell me that you and Dan, he basically wrote both of you off. He's like, I haven't even talked to either one of them. He just wrote you off, and then of course I was like, I'm not writing you guys off. You're gonna help me vote out Dennis. um, and Brandon knew about the plan too, but that's beyond the point.
All right. So with that said, I think we've said all we needed to about Brandon's social game. If there's anything else we want to say real quick before we transition over to something else. All right. So that's everything in regards to social game. But let's get to the other aspect, the thing that we keep confusing it with, the strategic aspect of the game. And we're going to start off once again with CJ. How do we feel about CJ's strategic game?
I'll start defending CJ, I guess.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
think that, like, again, with his strategic as opposed to social, he was just down for anybody but him. Like, he was putting himself in crazy positions. For example, the Dennis vote. He knew that he was well, it was switched around, but from the perspective of CJ, he thought he was the one that would go home if Dennis played an idol. And he was still willing to push through with that plan, knowing that it would cut him and make things better going forward. Um, the connecting with Brennan and Shanice, I helped that along because I created that 4-person group of me, Brendan, Shanice, and CJ. And I think like him communicating with them like helped them be able to use him as a swing vote. And I think he was just very willing to, I don't think he drove probably anything, unfortunately, but I do think that he was a part of a lot of different plans and a different backups. But he doesn't really have a lot of great agency in the game as far as like strategy that was brought on by CJ, unfortunately.
I'll say that CJ, I think, linked himself to bigger targets, which I think was extremely strategic. And I hope that he talks about that in his speech or in any sort of answers he gives to questions. Because I think that having kind of being like the second to AJ and the second to Slater, I think that it really gave him an opportunity to either be an early target and survive, which happened, and then Slater and AJ become bigger targets as the game moved on, and then be able to kind of like float into the background. We brought up the idea of a Gabler game in the jury chat.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I see of this, right? Like he kind of becomes like a name really early on, and then it just kind of like filters out, like where CJ's kind of like a non-entity for a while. And I think that was strategic, and I want him to talk about that. And if he can, I think he could potentially earn some of our votes.
Mm-hmm.
Slater, I
100%.
see you were
Talk
nodding a
about
lot,
what?
so
100%. I do think he definitely. I mean, we started on Tribe Cut, obviously. We started on the tribe that had two people walk away. CJ was here every moment of the game, which
Mm-hmm.
was clutch for him. I want to see CJ how socially aware, like how aware was he of his position? Like obviously he knew that I was going to be a shield for him. He knew AJ was going to be a shield for him. That definitely was a big part of CJ's game. I want to know how on the Jesse vote out. Um, was he nervous of just going to rocks, or was he actually making a decision that Jesse had to go that wasn't just coming from AJ? Um, I want to know on like I mean, obviously the Dan and CJ vote, like he had to vote for Dan because like he heard his name out there, so that didn't really do anything for me. Um,
To answer
yeah,
your
so
question, just about
basically until Mike pointed out that he became like he stayed in the game long enough to become the swing vote. And at that
Mhm.
point, he knew what side he needed to take to get to the end of the game. So he had plenty of targets in front of him, got to the swing vote position, won fire making, got to the final three, put his butt in the chair.
So as far for your just to answer your question, so you know about the CJ Jesse, I was pulled in. Like we made a 4-person group, me, Adrienne, Topher, and Shanice. So it was always going to be either CJ or Jesse. And from my perspective, I didn't want to do CJ because I knew that Jesse was like this with you, and she was also like this with Brendan. So I was like, I don't want to do CJ. Let's take out Jesse. And that's how that vote went. CJ was willing to flip though, because I went to him and I said, I think it's you or Jesse. Would you flip? And he said yes. And that's why it was 5 on her. Otherwise, it would never have come to
Which,
rocks. I was never willing to
yeah,
go through
I
rocks,
know you were
unfortunately, at
not
that
willing to
point.
go to rocks for the Dillamon 3 in that sense. Um, but yeah,
I know, I've
so
heard
I
about it
really
this whole game.
so I do believe that the anybody but me CJ strategy until he became the swing vote was his game. The other thing is CJ had no advantages in the game.
That's true. He only got to
Neither
go
did
to
I.
he only went to go to the only time CJ went to Emerald City was the round that all of
When we
us were
all got to
allowed to
go.
go. Every other time,
Yeah.
the poor guy. Every other time he guessed wrong and was just like the opposite of what it was.
He was very funny about like when I found both my idols and he was like, I don't know where to look, but it was comical. But yeah.
He was, I agree. I had some good moments with him.
all right, Topher and Adrian, you guys want to weigh in about CJ's strategic game?
I didn't get a lot of it from CJ, honestly. It seemed like he was playing like a Sandra game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, like I was telling Slater this earlier, when he would come to me, he'd be like, "Oh my gosh, am I getting votes?" And I'd be like, "You are, but you're not the majority," or I'd be like, "I don't think you're getting any votes tonight." And he just would not listen to me.
Yeah, he always thought he was getting the votes regardless of what people were telling
I
him.
forgot about that. That's true. Yeah.
Like no matter what was happening, it was always like the round I went home, I was like, no, CJ, it's me, it's not you. It makes more sense for them to take out me than you, is what I was thinking in my head. But I was like, he's like, no, it's me. I'm going home this round. And like the round before that, when it was obviously gonna be Slater, he was like, I think I'm going home instead of Slater. And I was like, you think what? And like even before, like it just like every round was like, it's me, I'm going home. And maybe that's what led his gameplay into anybody but me, because he genuinely always thought he was the one going home. Or maybe his gameplay was throwing out there that he was paranoid, that so that people would pick him up as a like, oh, you're paranoid, let me pick you up and throw you on the right side of the boat. Maybe.
That's what I'm hoping for. But I think the previous thing he said is the more true. But like
Michael, I feel the
I
same
don't
way.
yeah, I don't want to vote for him because he was paranoid the whole time, right? Like that's not
Mhm.
what I want to do. But if he used it to his advantage, then that I could get behind.
Exactly.
I
All
agree
right.
with you on that too.
I hate to interrupt, but I do want to turn to Topher real quick because Topher hasn't gotten to speak much about CJ's strategic game.
I mean, I think I see the same thing. Like from my perspective, he seemed quite paranoid and always worried it was going to be him and whatever name he was told last that wasn't CJ, he wrote down. And I just need to hear that wasn't the case.
Agreed.
That's all.
All right. Anything else you want to weigh in about CJ's strategic game?
No,
Also, I go ahead.
I just wanted to say, like, I feel bad for CJ's strategic game because I feel like he genuinely thought what I was saying, that we were in control of things. And he put a lot of like agency into what I knew, because I know that I knew which way CJ voted every round. I knew which way he was doing, and I told him many times what to do. And like I feel like that kind of sank his social game because my read was off on like where Brendan and Mike and Shanice were actually standing. My view was off on that because Brandon and Shanice were telling me and CJ they're with us. So I was like, okay, we've got four. We can make this majority. Um, so I just feel like I screwed him a little bit with the social game by our strategic game by just being wrong on my reads.
But what I'm getting from that is like he's not making his own decisions.
That's also
He's
kind of true.
he's not thinking for himself.
I do want to mention the helping you out with the challenge part again. That also ties into strategic. If he wanted you to win the challenge over a bigger threat, how helping you out is interesting.
Which challenge was that? Sorry.
It was when we were still on tribes. So,
Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't hear anything. Okay, that makes sense
Okay,
then.
so it's tribal.
no,
Okay, so
yeah,
it
it
was
was
way
when we
down.
were
Okay,
on the same tribe. So he helped me because
tribe
it's for
strength.
me to
So
do
you
well
led to
also.
tribe strength.
Okay.
Did you guys win that challenge?
Yes, we did. Thanks to, I think, Dan? No, it was thanks to someone.
If
It
All
I
was
right.
wasn't
This
thanks
on
to
sounds
the
like
tribe.
Slater and his DNF.
this sounds like a fantastic conversation for after the roundtable. So we're going to go ahead and segue to my next question, which is Jen's strategic game. We talked about CJ's quite a bit. Let's get into what we think Jen did well strategically. What didn't she do? Well, all that stuff. Whoever wants to start. Mike, I see you're thinking. So I think I'm going to turn to you first.
Like I, I'm struggling with explaining it because I feel like it's just part of it is my game, and I do feel like she latched on to the right people, and I think that is a lot of what her strategy was. I think that might have had a little bit to do with her time constraints and not being able to necessarily be, all in like throughout a week. And so she would check in right before tribals and right before challenges and check in with the people that she was loyal to. I think she played an extremely loyal game. I think that she
Yes.
was loyal to Adrian. I think she was loyal to Brandon, and I think she was loyal to me. And I think and Shanice for the most part. I think that that is what locked her into that group, and I think that's unfortunately what made her technically a target in some of the game was because she was somebody that people were willing to vote out because she didn't have the connections with other people in the game. However, I think that because she latched on to Brandon and Shanice and myself and Adrian, I think that we were playing a game that she was willing to follow and be loyal to. And I think her loyalty was part of that strategy. She also did find an advantage. She had a peek a vote or look at a vote. I don't know if she ever used it, but she did have an advantage that she was kind of playing people with a little bit. But her strategic game was mostly a loyal one from my perspective.
Which the same things could be said about CJ then. But with
No.
Jen, my perspective of it is that she connected to the right people and let you guys do all of the work. I would like to know, because I never really talked to Jen on a strategic level because I was like, we need to get her out. What moves were Jen's ideas? Was Jen leading any of your votes, or was it kind of just like you guys had this alliance and you're like, okay, this is who we're taking out now, and Jen's like, okay, I'm loyal. Like, so that's what I'm trying to like figure out is like how intricate was her strategy brought to your alliance? Because yes, it's a great alliance. It's with a lot of big targets, and that's very smart. But I'm just curious in there, did she play the role of I'm Jen, I'm just here to be a vote and be loyal? Or did she play a role of I'm going to lead this ship?
I
Or did
don't
she just let you guys decide whatever you wanted to do and then take out people?
I don't think we had like a quote unquote alliance. I don't think I was technically ever in an alliance with Jen until like 2 days ago.
Fair.
But
I think sorry, when I say
I
that,
think the
Adrian, it was revealed.
Mike, Jen, and Brandon Shanice alliance is what they're talking
Yeah,
about.
so
So
it was
so there
revealed.
was a lock of four, right? So there was Shanice, myself, Brandon, and Jen. We were in a
That's the
four
four I'm talking
alliance.
about. That's what I'm talking about when I
Yeah,
say the
early on.
alliance.
What I will say is that Adrian was a fifth part of that alliance, whether she knows it or not, because all of us were like, we love Adrian. We want to, like, we were gonna loop her into like a five, but we didn't want to make it awkward. So Adrian was always kind of knowledgeable about what the four were thinking, despite her not necessarily knowing that there was a solid four. But Jen was very well connected to Adrian and loved Adrian and wanted to work with Adrian. I think what was fun about Jen for me is that Jen kind of locked me in with the four because I wasn't sure how solid she was with Brandon and Shanice. So whenever I wanted to make a move or wanted to kind of switch things up, it was really Jen and her absence that prevented me from being able to like make a bigger move or do a flip or do something else. So like for example, like the AJ vote, right? Like had Jen and I been able to connect more or me feel like she would go against Brandon and Shanice, I would maybe have flipped the vote on the AJ vote, right? But I didn't know where Jen stood with the Shanice Brandon part of things. So for me, it was a little scary to bring her into any sort of
Damn it, that
plan.
sucks to
So I would
hear.
just follow it. So like, but Jen was
Ah,
very like Jen did
yeah.
not want to work with you,
Yeah,
so I
no, I
didn't
know.
think that was going to work anyway. And
Honestly,
then
it's
Jen
fair.
Jen was very like CJ, like she wanted CJ out. She was very focused on CJ.
Mhm,
So like when the vote happened with Shanice, it was kind of a challenge to get her to go with that plan. She
mhm.
eventually went with it because I told her about my extra vote, and then she wanted CJ out instead of me, which is why she voted with me. I don't know if it was loyalty to me or if she really just wanted CJ out because she came to me and was like, "I'm voting CJ," and there was like no other discussion.
So I
yeah,
appreciate what you said because that answers some of the questions I had, but it doesn't answer the main question I had is
which is
what did
what?
Jen do that led to agency in this game? And it's the same thing with CJ. Yes, they both made it far, but the perception on the people that weren't working with either one of them is that both of them were considered underdogs to be, or goats, whatever you want to call them, to be taken to the end. And that's why I wanted Jen out. Not, I just thought she wasn't around. She wasn't talking to people. And I was like, this girl's going to go to the end because we're going to start looking at big targets and taking them out one after the other, which I think has happened. And then Jen gets to the end. And I'm just curious, like, did she make any of the moves? Was she like, okay, tonight is going to be Topher. Okay, let's do Dan. Let's do CJ. Let's do AJ. Let's do. That's what I'm curious about. Is like,
Let's
what
let
did she lead?
Yes,
Sorry.
let's let Topher weigh in because he was raising his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my one big question is, because from the perception of the jury and from Slater, is did Jen convince Brandon to single-handedly save her, or did Mike convince Brandon to do it?
Well, you said Brandon owed you a favor. Was that a favor that Brandon did for you? To save Jen?
Brandon told me he saved Jen because she was easier to control than Jody.
I want to know Mike's answer.
No, I also want to know it. I'm just
I'm
telling you what
trying
I
to
was heard about it.
I'm trying to think because like it's been so much game. Um so during the okay, sorry. Okay, I'm with you guys now. So from what I understood, and this might be talking more about Brandon, from what I understood,
Which we'll go
it
to soon.
was Brandon made a promise to me that he would protect Jen. I have no factual evidence that that is exactly why he did it. There could have easily been because there was absolutely a relationship between Brandon and Jen. One that I wasn't 100% sure or like how that was, which is why I locked in with a lot of the votes because I didn't know Jen and Brandon's connection. So yes and no. From what I understood, yes, but I would not be shocked if the answer is no.
So that's a good segue into what I was going to say about Jen. Um, is Jen only in this game because of Brandon twice now? He saved her at the safety chain and also saved her at, final picking her, taking to the final three.
That
Mhm.
sounds about right.
And
Because
the
I mean,
other question I have
Brandon
about
did
Jen's
vote for
game,
Jen at one point.
Yeah, just so he didn't have to vote for his one ally, Shanice,
Shanice, yeah,
number one
his
Mhm.
ally,
number one
Shanice.
Shanice, which he didn't use idol for, but we'll get to that. But yeah, back on Jen. The other question is just like in terms of it kind of goes along with what AJ was saying. Drive-in votes very similar to each AJ to CJ, but did Jen's I know Jen's 4.5 month old child can't commit to the game as much as others, but how much was she actually here? I know that she did quite well in touchy subjects. She tied, but
Mhm.
let's be
She did great
honest.
in a lot of the challenges, to be honest.
She
Yeah.
really did.
How many times did Jen not submit?
I don't think she ever didn't submit.
I don't think not in any tribes I was on with her.
Not any of the individuals. Okay, I know
I
there.
don't think so.
Yeah.
I
I don't
don't
think
think so
so.
So
either.
really, it was
Well, she didn't show up for that one
with
tribal
with the little
altogether,
amount
did
of time that
she?
she had to commit because of
Whatever.
with the little amount of time that she had to commit to the game. She, as Mike said, tied herself to the people that she trusted.
Hmm.
Was yes in a voting situation with them and got to the final seat. Um, the question is on Brandon and her relationship. I'm not sure. Obviously, she's there. She got saved by him twice. Um, we'll see. We'll see how that
Hmm.
plays out.
All right, Adrian, I don't think you said a ton about Jen's strategic game, so you want to weigh in about that?
Well, I think maybe some of her strategy was perhaps not only just aligning with the right people, but with Brandon in the first place. And I don't know the nature of their relationship either, but I do know that he voted her. And I remember him saying to me, like in passing or something, like, oh, now I have to do damage control with Jen. But it didn't really seem like he had to do that much because he still took her to the final. And in his speech, he said that he was taking her to the final because he promised this person or something. I
Raise your
don't know.
hand if raise your hand if Brendan promised you to take you to the final.
I was so annoyed by that. It was so hard for me not to like turn my camera on because I was still in the Zoom and like just like eyeball him, but I didn't. But yeah, he did promise me that he wanted to sit next to me
We
at the
we will
final
talk about
two.
this when we go to Brandon.
Well,
Brandon,
the other thing
yep,
on
got it.
Jen.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Adrian,
sorry.
continue.
Our hatred is spewing
One
everywhere.
last thing on.
Sorry. Yeah, so I don't really know the nature of their relationship, but I think that was strategy too. Like maybe when she got to like the final five, she or six or whatever it was, she realized she had a better shot working with certain people than others. I don't know.
All right. Is there anything else we want to say about Jen's strategic game? All right. Well, it seems like we're pretty eager to talk about Brandon. So let's go ahead and go to Brandon's strategic game. Whoever wants to start.
I'll start. Brandon's strategic game. I don't have a good analogy for it. Sorry, Chinese food, but no. No, Brandon's strategic game. I mean, he played hard from the start. I mean, he definitely lied about any advantage he had. Although he told people that he had it, especially the safety chain, because a fear factor or a fear tactic. Um, which I mean, I think his social game in general was going to build those relationships. He didn't need to have that added on, and you know, the unnecessary lie that came with it. Um, but yeah, as far as he knew about the Dennis vote, I told him about the Dennis vote. He played up very well after the Dennis vote that he was so mad and just burned down the entire city that we had established. And that led to him having to use the safety chain in a round that he didn't need to use it. That
Hmm.
led to him playing an idol in a round that he didn't need to play it. That that led to him, I think, I mean, like that also, and then somehow I don't know exactly where he got the second idol from. He said he went to the Wizard. I'm not sure if that's where, but he might that would make him have it a long time in the game.
Which second idol are you talking about?
The one he played at Final Five.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was obviously out of the game, so I don't know if there was another idol hunt that you guys had or not. I'm not sure when he got it, so I do want to know from Brandon when he got that, just out of curiosity. Obviously, again, he could have made a big move and saved Shanice with it. He didn't. Um, so as far as advantages go, not great in that department. I do think. I mean, I went to you, Mike. I told you I'm going. I didn't know I had the second idol at that point, but Brandon would have been very much in danger if he did not use the safety chain in that spot. So I don't think using the safety chain round nine was the like bad part about that advantage for him. I just think the way that he told people about it in a way that he didn't need to, and I think his jury management was not great.
Piss poor.
Jury management? Like what? Like
What is that?
can anybody actually sit here and be like, Brendan did me well in jury management? Like, I don't feel bitter towards Brendan. Is there anyone here that feels great with him? Like the way they left with him? Does anybody feel like, yeah, thanks, Brandon.
He
Good
should have
job,
taken
bud.
he should have taken Mike to the end. He should have taken Adrian to the end. He should have taken AJ to the end. No. I even had a final two with him like way back on our first try, but no, I knew that was over as soon as I voted out Dennis. But
All
But
right.
didn't he also vote out Dennis?
he did not. No.
So
No.
so I will speak because Shanice is
Yeah, Mike,
not
go ahead.
here, so I'm unfortunately kind of speaking for her as well. And I hope that if she does watch this, can maybe like talk in the jury chat about whether she agrees with me or not. But I do feel like Brandon and Shanice were a lot of what pulled me and Jen together. Like, so the four of us were pulled together mostly by Brandon and Shanice. And I think what was great about Brandon's game is that he was very clocked in with all three of us individually as well as in the group chat. So for me, like there was a point where he talked to me about the idol and what I would do with it, and I gave it to Shanice because Brandon, Shanice, myself, and Jen all agreed that like I didn't need it as much as Shanice might need it in the other group. And so my trust was in Brandon. He could have easily screwed me had I not won immunity. So like I don't know what would have like panned out with that, but I gave my idol to Shanice simply because Brandon and Shanice felt that Shanice was more vulnerable than I was, and they were promising me safety had anything gone wrong, right, on our group. And Slater was the one that I was assuming was going to win immunity, and it ended up being me. So for me, it was like I'm putting a lot of trust in Brandon, and I think his ability to kind of pull people together and make strategic conversations happen very quickly, I think was one of his strengths. I think his weakness was not realizing how affected people were going to be through the moves he was making. So the lies that he told were so transparent that I think a lot of us were getting frustrated with the lies. And then when it came our time to get our head chopped off, it was kind of like, okay, like you've been lying to me this whole time. I kind of sort of knew it, but I was really hoping for trust with you. So I think that there's a lot of things that Brandon did very well in this game. I think his heart is in the game. I think, as Slater said, he played right from the beginning. But I think he did people a little too dirty throughout the game for people to feel super confident to give them his vote, give him their vote for just a strategic game.
Quick question about the safety chain round, Mike. Were you two parts? Did you guys talk about the safety chain and like how it would go if he used it? Like what
Yes.
what was the plan?
The plan was so it was Brandon's plan was that Dan was going to be at the bottom of the chain. So the plan was that he was going to pick me. Don't know if that was true. That he was going to pick me, I was going to pick Jody, and that Jody was going to pick Jen. I don't know if I would have picked Jody, but potentially I go with the plan. But I very much thought about going to Dan to ask him to pick Jen and make sure that Jody was at the bottom of the chain. Because we knew that you had the idol, so we knew you were going to be fine. I also had the idol up until that point when we were making the plan, so I also knew I would be fine. So if I needed to play the idol, I would. But I ended up giving it to Shanice kind of at the last minute. So for me, it was Jody, but the plan for him was Dan.
And the other topic on that round, who was the one? I heard it was Jody that saw the idol clue first. I'm assuming you guys were all talking together about it. Who solved it and was I'm assuming that's how Shanice got aware of it as well.
I don't know about how Shanice got it. I was very self-absorbed in what was going on in our own group, because I knew she was safe with my idol, and then she also won immunity, so I wasn't really worried about focused on what was going on with her. I think Brandon can answer that question much more clearly than I could. But what I will say is that Jen solved the puzzle, and you beat Jen because Jen wasn't paying attention that you had already done the fake little phone call thing. And I don't know if you heard, but she
Yeah, she
said
told me
it
after the fact.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah, she solved it. So Jen had it locked in.
So
She
she
just
solved
didn't
it,
know
shared
you
it
had
with a
already said it.
group, and then
So,
okay,
well, I knew about it. I don't know if Brandon knew about it, but I knew about it.
gotcha.
She then said it like 2 minutes after you had already said it. But
All
Jen
right.
solved it.
All right. Topher, Adrian, you guys want to weigh in about Brandon's strategic game?
I mean, from what I can hear, and I know he's pissed off a lot of you, but from what I'm hearing from everybody is that Brandon played a much, much, much better strategic game than the other two did.
Of course.
And like, I don't know. Maybe I will vote for Brandon. Because like
I'm swaying myself too,
Slater
Topher.
says in the same sentence, Brandon misplayed the safety chain, but then says, "Oh, but we were going to idle Brandon out." So it sounds like Brandon saved himself with that safety
I,
chain.
I didn't deny that. I said that wasn't the bad part about the safety chain from Brandon.
So
I
like,
I
said the
think I
bad
think
part about
Topher's
the
just
safety chain
I
with
think
Brandon
Topher's
was how
highlighting
he,
that though. Yeah, yeah.
I know, I'm just
yeah,
yeah.
Brandon would have most likely gone home because Jody would have voted Brandon if in a revote at least because it would be between Brandon and well, actually Jen would be up for grabs too because Mike didn't have the idol on our side, but yeah.
Well, I gave Brendan my word. If he screwed me and Jen is sitting at the finale, I will vote for her. So,
All right, Adrian, Brandon strategic game.
I think he and we had a lot of calls and we were very open with each other, and I don't think he was lying about any of it, but at the same time it was upsetting feeling that close with him and then him being like, "Oh, surprise, I'm closer with Jen, although I voted for her once."
which
What?
is fair. And like, he was also the one that was like, the votes that we should throw definitely need to be put on Adrian for the round that me and CJ put the votes on
Wait,
you
Brandon said that too?
yeah, in case Slater had an idol. Um, I was worried that I was actually going to be the backup vote. And I was like, well, we have to put two votes on someone else because I knew all the votes were there.
Which was
And
smart
he
by
had said,
Brandon because it gave them the green light to go for me and not worry about an idol for me because you
and
were the backup vote, Adrian.
yeah, because he said, do Adrian then. And that's why CJ and I put you down, to be honest.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I thought I was in an alliance of four with CJ, Shanice, and Brandon. And Mike and I had a very strong relationship as well. It wasn't a great choice for me. I was choosing between you and Mike, and I wasn't feeling great about either of it. But I want you to know that that is where he was like, Adrian, he was 100% okay and suggested when I said we need to throw the votes on someone else.
Alrighty then. Well,
Sorry,
that
I don't want, like, I'm
tears
not
it.
trying to make it bitter against him, but
No,
like,
I mean,
if you
it's
want to
not
know
even
the
just being
information,
bitter. It's
that
just like,
is,
that's a dumb idea.
well, it was a dumb idea to put it on you. The idea was that no matter wherever Slater was throwing his vote, if he played an idol and there was two votes, me and CJ, on someone else, it had ensured that the four people in the alliance that I thought was real, none of them would be going home.
I
Even
thought
though you
Because
our
guys knew my
alliance
vote was
was
on Mike.
real. The three of us and Shanice, you, me, Topher, and Shanice. But
it was for me. It was for me. And
but
I'll
then I noticed you guys kept voting differently, and
Remember
Shanice
what Mike said,
noticed.
Adrian. You were the fifth person in that outside that four. So that's why Brandon suggested you, not anybody in the four.
I will
I also,
call Adrian,
I
I will
also,
explain everything to you that happened leading up
yeah.
to all of those moments.
Okay,
There's just a
okay.
lot.
I don't mind. This isn't round table appropriate,
Yeah.
but
No, it is not. So let's stay on topic here. Mike, what were you going to say?
I mean, it's
If
Brandon's
if
vote.
it's relevant to the discussion.
Yeah, it was off topic.
Okay, if it's not relevant to the discussion, we're
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
move
yeah.
on then.
No.
I think we've said all we needed to about Brandon's strategic game, unless there's anything else we want to weigh in about real quick regarding that.
I do want to. I have a question for Slater. So when Brandon was working with you, it was pre-Dennis. Can you just clarify a little bit more about like what was his role in like the Dennis CJ back and forth, blah blah blah? Do you have more insight into
His
that?
role
Because I know what I know, but I don't know if that's the truth.
so on the try before we ended up merging together, it was me,
Hmm.
Shanice, Jody, and Brandon. I
Okay.
also had,
Hmm.
I also obviously had AJ, CJ, Jesse, or AJ, Jesse, whatever. But yeah, in that four, we decided to vote out Jackie. Then we merged. They knew just as well as I knew that Dennis and you are close. They also knew well early in the day before AJ opened the GIF thing that I thought we could get out Dennis this round because Dennis is not going to play an idol.
That was one of the biggest lies that was told, that Slater put together that plan last minute. And I will confirm that was not put together last minute. I knew about it, I think, the day before. Like, it was way
It was in the
before.
morning mostly, but yeah.
Yeah. It was way
So
before I
so
had released
I
my
laid
GIF.
out
Well, I just want to know how does Brandon connect to all of that?
I laid out Brandon in our
Yes.
101 with Brandon. I laid out the math. I told him exactly the numbers that I think was going to happen. I did not know that you guys were voting Jesse. Mike, you, and whoever.
My spidey sense tingled with Brandon, so I was like, something's
The
off.
only
I
name
just
that Yeah, and the only name that Brandon was saying was CJ, which told me that he was forming
Same.
relationships with you, forming relationships with Jen,
Oh,
forming
yeah.
relationships with blah 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 blah. So Brandon was definitely pushing CJ. And he was like, "That's just an easy vote for the round." Turns out now CJ's in the final three. I don't think anybody in that final three wanted CJ there, so that's beside the point. Um, and yeah, so Brandon ended up, and again, he didn't he tossed Topher and Dan to the side for that vote. Like he was like, I was not on a try before with them. I don't I haven't talked, I haven't gone on call with them. I have no previous relationship playing a game with them. Like all this tough like reasons why I cannot work with Topher, I cannot work with Dan. Um, he's pitching this whole Morrible is four strong, and all this stuff. And I was like, well, I know for sure they're not strong because Mike got to that second tribe and didn't have his idol activated. So I know they weren't strong. Anyhow. So yeah,
That's what I thought too. So I didn't understand why everyone thought
Brandon
that, but
100% knew about the
continue.
plan. Also 100% knew that you were not sold on voting CJ. I know Brandon knew that you were voting Jesse. Brandon knew about the split. He did not tell my group with Shanice and Jody. I'm not sure. He probably told Shanice. Shanice probably was in on it. Because you guys had that chat before the dance vote with you, Shanice and Brandon, or was that after?
So I didn't tell them anything. That was legitimately Adrian, Dennis, and I, what, 5 minutes before tribal. So Brandon had nothing, like he might have inferred it and like figured it out pretty quickly, but he was not, I never looped him into that.
Yeah, he was basically saying you guys were dying on the hill that you wanted to save CJ basically, or keep CJ in the game, that you weren't going to do CJ. So he told me this after the vote though. So he was just the only name I heard was CJ. That's why I was like, okay, it's going to be 7-5. I'm going to play the trash can on CJ. We're still going to vote out Dennis 6-5. But anyway, so yeah, but Brandon knew about it, and then after the vote, that's when Brandon was like threw a big fit. It was clear as mud or clear as day that he was protecting Dennis, and then Dennis went, and everything went. I think yeah, we could have been sitting pretty with each other with a bunch of advantages in our pocket, but he ended up wasting a bunch of them because he couldn't get over the Dennis vote.
So I guess what I'm getting at then is that he stuck to his guns on the CJ vote, which is what he told me. So that's honest, but also that he set up the entire like everyone versus Slater narrative in that moment.
No,
Like
because
Brandon
like
created that.
no.
It came after the Dennis vote that Brandon went guns ablazing. You voted out Dennis.
Anti-Slater.
That did
Hmm.
not go to my plan. Like fuck you, Slater. I am gonna go hell's ablazing, and we're not working together anymore. Basically,
So
Hmm.
that Brendan deciding that, Brendan was not the first person that was like Slater needs to be taken out of the game. That
No.
credit goes to Topher. Because Topher had told me really early on in the game, like, I want to work with you, but at some point we need to cut Slater, is what Topher had said to me. I'm giving you credit. I'm not
no.
bashing.
Brandon was way more instrumental on the other side of the game.
Yeah.
The Mike Shanice, like the bigger
That's
piece
what,
of the
yeah.
pod. Like
Yeah.
Right.
Brandon put together.
Brandon
Like,
created the army.
like obviously Mike, I know Mike and Dennis go back, so he pulled in Mike, was like, "Fuck Slater," he just voted out Dennis.
I don't like playing with Dennis. Like I hate that we've been duoed together.
I
Like
mean, he's a
Dennis
All
fun
and
right,
I
guy.
do
we
not have
are
similar
veering off
strategies.
course here.
Yes.
But anyway,
Brandon.
but
Yes,
I do think I do think Brandon didn't have to destroy our relationship over the Dennis vote as much as he did. That's all I
all
gotta say.
right,
That's what I was getting at. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
That's how I
all
feel
right,
about me getting voted as well. Like
all right.
he
So
did a lot of destructive things in the name of strategy.
all right, Adrian, real quick.
I would like to nutshell. So it seems like Brandon had the most strategy of everyone, but he used it in such a way that it was very sloppy and misguided.
I would almost compare him to Paul in Big Brother.
Oh
Paul
no,
had a
Paul
great,
played much better.
well, with just like how Paul played a strategic game that could another player that had better jury management could argue was a great game. But because Paul's jury management was so god awful, like Brandon's, it's hard to vote for him. And that's how I feel going into it. I'm
All
hoping
right.
that I really hope that Jen and CJ come out fighting. I hope they don't think that the jury is all just, we want Brendan to win and they have no chance. I really, really want them both to come out with information we don't know, things that we haven't been told, and really just like really fight and not just lay down and die because they think we're just going to pick Brendan.
All right. Well, I think we've said quite a bit about everybody's strategic game. Let's move on. This one's going to be a little bit more general than some of the other questions I've asked. We're going to go to the outplay aspect of Survivor. We talked about the outwit. We talked about the outlast. Let's go to the outplay aspect, which is all about like challenges and advantages. Do we think they played them well? Is there anything specifically we want to highlight? Is there something we feel they could have done better? Anyone who wants to start?
All right, I'll start. CJ didn't have any advantages. The only challenge he won was the challenge he needed to win, which was fire making. Jen, I guess, had an advantage. I don't know when she used it. I would love to find out if that benefited anything. And she did not win any individual immunities or challenges.
No, she
She
did.
won one. She won an
I'm
Oh,
pretty
no,
individual.
I
sure
said she won. She won one. She won one, right?
Right after touchy subject, she won.
Yeah, right after the round. Yeah, the round I
The
went.
round I wasn't there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
The time one where
so
she was
Brandon also
counting.
only won one, right?
Who?
And Brandon only won the
final
last
four?
one. Yes.
The final four, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Which would be argued the most
Again,
important one.
probably is one that he needs to win, but he would have probably gone fire. Like, I don't know if anyone was taking Brandon to the end in that situation. Jen,
I would not have.
Adrian, were you?
I would have taken Jen. I don't think I
You
would
guys
have
probably
taken
had
CJ,
another?
but I don't know. I don't think I would have taken Brandon.
I'm guessing Jen probably would have taken CJ. I don't know who's. Yeah. So I don't know if Brandon had other routes to the end other than winning that final four challenge or fire making. But yeah, so one. Basically, they all won the same amount of challenges.
I think
One,
CJ
one,
could
one.
have convinced. Well, that's besides the point.
And CJ didn't have any advantages. Jen had one, and Brandon had quite a few advantages, but the only one I think he
misplayed
the
all of
one he
them.
played correctly to save himself, I think, was the safety chain.
But it's hard.
there's
How
other
do you
aspects.
misplay a safety chain? You're
Well, because
safe regardless.
he had two
Well,
more rounds.
Yeah, he played it early when he didn't need to because he burned down a bunch of bridges that he didn't need to, and he told people about it that he didn't need to, for whatever.
And promised to use it on them for.
Okay, let me see.
But he did have to play that round because he would have gone home probably.
All right, Slate. Let's let Topher talk. He hasn't.
Yeah.
Okay, the one thing I can say about Jen that I think that she completely screwed up on the physical, completely screwed up on the outplay, that could have snowballed and spiraled to Slater going on an immunity run, Slater being able to find more idols, is when she, instead of doing the smart thing and actually answering the tiebreaker correctly, she decides to troll with 69. She could have won that and kept Slater from winning immunity. I mean, that could have been a huge disaster for everyone in her alliance if Slater would have went on an immunity run after her doing that.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, though, it wasn't even that far off, was it?
It was far off. It was like 40 points.
It was
off.
like, yeah. Well,
40 points?
It was like, I
It
think it was
ended up
like
being
20,
89, I
20
think.
something.
I thought it was 93.
90,
Yeah,
I thought it
93.
was like
It was
73.
Yeah, it was 90
No,
something.
it was 93.
We both had 75, and it was like in the 90s.
Oh, right. I was going to put 73. Still not 69, but
I don't disagree with you, Topher, on that. I didn't really think through that moment. That's a really good point. Like, I think that there's a moment that she didn't take a challenge necessarily as seriously as she could have. I think that's a fair thing to bring up. But I also feel like a lot of their game is pretty equal when it comes to the outplay. Like, I don't think, Brandon's advantages are plenty, but like he didn't use them necessarily to the best of his ability. Did the safety chain save him or not? I guess that's kind of up in the air for your own opinion. But I don't know if he played a lot of his advantages correctly. And then you've got Jen, who had an advantage, but it wasn't super useful. And then you've got CJ, who, didn't win any challenges, until it absolutely, like pushed him to do it. So I think that for outplay, for me, I don't know if this is really gonna factor in to my decision.
All right. Anything else you want to say about the outplay aspect of the game?
I just wanted to agree with Mike that I think they're all in the same thing. As far as the advantages go, the advantages that Brendan were finding were all in crapshoots. It's not like he was solving puzzle after puzzle. A lot of it was that
Yeah.
he guessed the right way. He guessed black. He guessed two. He
He
guessed
didn't
this
have
to get
no
into it.
beware advantage like me and Mike did.
Yeah, it wasn't like any
It's
solving
true.
things. He was literally just
He didn't
lucky
he
in
didn't
finding
have
the advantages in Emerald City. It's not like he was doing like big puzzles or solving these things or
I
finding
agree
them
with that.
very hidden.
But we
He
still don't
was
know
just
how he got the
lucking
second
out.
idol.
And that's
That's
why I
fair.
think like the three of them are all on the same page as far as like immunity wins, I guess. I do think that CJ probably would have taken Brendan to the final three, which is so fucking stupid. It makes me think less of CJ. But I think he would have. I don't see him taking Adrian or Jen.
He told me he 100% would have taken me, but that sounded like
I don't
another
think.
lie.
Oh, the
He
way I
might have.
talked to
That might have been
CJ, I don't think he
true.
was gonna take
After
Brandon.
I was gone, like that might
Um,
have been true, to be honest, Adrian. He might have been sincere about that. I really don't know.
Yeah.
Slater, go
For
ahead.
that last,
Oh,
I do
oh,
think Brandon went to the Emerald City more than anyone in the game. Just putting that out.
I also agree with that. I think that's true. I think for the last idol also, I think it's not as much. I don't know if I care as much of how he got it as how he played it. And I think by playing the idol at all, I think he really revealed to Shanice that his game and his spot in the game was far more important than his allegiance with her. And I think that kind of bumbled. And I will take somewhat credit for making that happen because I did want Brandon to feel like he was the vote from me and Jen. He wasn't. We were honest with CJ. But by Brandon bumbling that, I think it revealed to the rest of us that he was in it for himself all along, and we were all just pawns in his game.
100%. If he didn't believe that he was just playing for a spot there, he should have saved it for Final Trial Council as a surprise.
Yep. Hey,
I
I
had
had this idol.
this,
I never had to
didn't
use
need
it.
it.
Yep.
all right. Well, we are going to wrap up soon here, but we have one last question to talk about, and that is really just what do you need to hear? You know, you're going into vote for the final three in 2 days. So I just want to know what exactly is that you need to hear from the final three in order to get their vote and make sure that like they're the one that you want to win this game. What do you need to hear? Anybody can say.
I
Topher.
need them to own their shit. Don't Amanda Kimmel this final tribal council. If you were a snake, come in green. Like, let me see your scales. I mean, I like a good villain. Like, don't apologize too much. Like, I hate when people want to apologize. That's basically all I need. It's just
To go off that with Topher, like Brendan to get my vote would have to come in and literally just be like, I played you the whole time. I played you like a fiddle. The friendship thing was bullshit. I played you on all of that. And I'd probably give him my vote because, like, good for you for owning up it at the end. I really want CJ and Jen to fight and show that fight and show that they deserve to be there. Is what I would like to see from Jen and CJ. And from Brendan, I just really need him to own up that he hurt people and played people like they're not actual humans and just pieces in a chessboard. And that could sway me, but most likely I'm leaning towards the other two. Probably Jen. Only because I told you all this would happen.
I think Jen's getting my vote. After this round table, I definitely feel like she's more deserving, at least than CJ, and certainly than Brandon. Um, because considering all of his mis well, I used misguided earlier, but mis I don't know. He definitely I guess someone said bumbled. Maybe I'll say fumbled. Yeah, I think he did a bit of fumbling
Mm-hmm.
and kind of screwed the pooch, I guess. I think that's a phrase. I don't know.
No,
But
screw
I
the pooch is
That's
a
a
think,
phrase.
phrase.
yeah.
It's not a phase. Hopefully.
All right, Slater and Mike, what do you guys need to hear?
I need to know from CJ did he have self-awareness for his game? Did he have agency in the game? I just want to know if he knew what was happening, or as people point out, was he just paranoid and doing, whatever the last vote he was heard. Same thing with Jen. I want to know, did she have agency? Was there a move that she felt that she was critical on, and was like, I know like her activity in the game, like how committed was she to the game? And then with Brandon, again, I don't. I want him to just own everything, like everyone else wants him to own. Um, I want him to also just give more. See how separate he like. I also want to know what kind of moves he made without Shanice. I want to know what he's going to own as his move in the game. Because I'm not sure if that's going to match up with what some other people think they had as moves. And then at the end of the day, I do kind of want to know where that last idol came from. So,
all right, Mike.
I want CJ and or Jen to surprise me. I want to be shocked by something that they say. I want to be in awe of a game move. I want to just have a moment of just, yes, okay, cool. And that's what I want from either one of them. And if they both do it, I may have to toss a coin at that point. But I want to be surprised by one or both of them. For Brandon, I think this is going to be weird to say, but for Brandon, I don't want the manipulation in this phase, right? I want the owning of the game, but I also don't want the expectation of like, hey, you're my friend, so you should vote for me. Hey, we had a great relationship, so you should vote for me. I don't want to hear that from him. Because if I hear it from him, it's going to really boil me. So I don't want to hear that from him. I want a lot of his conversation to just be about strategy and to hone in on his strategic game, and then he could potentially get my vote.
All right. Well, if there's anything else left to okay. Oh, one more thing I'll ask. One more thing I'll ask right now. Who thinks that they are going into the game? Or going into the finale 100% locked. They know who they're voting for. They don't need to hear anything else. They're pretty decided. If that is you, raise your hand. All right. Well, it seems like we have a fairly open jury. Good discussion. All great things. I will turn it over to Jay themselves.
Yeah, you can stop the recording. I'm just going to show them some. I'm going to show them so they know this does not be the recording. So,
oh yes, okay. Well, great discussion. Like I said, we will see you guys at the finale to see which one of your fellow Aussians did the best job at playing you all within the Emerald City, within Shiz, within all that stuff. We will see you on Friday.